And, by the way, one of the changes that I would like to see, and I'm going to be talking about this in weeks to come, is once again seeing our best and our brightest commit themselves to making things: engineers, scientists, innovators. For so long, we have placed at the top of our pinnacle folks who can manipulate numbers and engage in complex financial calculations. And that's good, we need some of that. But you know what we can really use is some more scientists and some more engineers. Who are building and making things that we can export to other countries. Now, the third pillar of this new foundation is to harness the renewable energy that can create millions of new jobs and new industries. We all know that the country that harnesses this new energy source will lead the 21st century. Yet we've allowed other countries to outpace us on this race to the future. I don't know about you, but I do not accept a future where the jobs and industries of tomorrow take root beyond our borders. I think it's time for America to lead again. So the investments we made in the Recovery Act will double this. Nation's supply of renewable energy in the next 3 years. And we are putting Americans to work making our homes and buildings more efficient so that we can save billions on our energy bills and grow our economy at the same time. Now, the only though that we can truly spark the transformation that's needed is through a gradual market-based cap on carbon pollution, so that clean energy is the profitable kind of energy. There are those who've argued that we shouldn't attempt, we shouldn't even be thinking. We shouldn't even be talking about such a transition until the economy recovers. And they are right that we have to take into account the costs of transition. Transitioning to a clean energy economy will not be easy. But we can no longer delay putting a framework for a clean energy economy in place. That needs to be done now. If businesses and entrepreneurs know today that we are closing this carbon pollution loophole, they'll start investing in clean energy now. And pretty soon, we'll see more companies constructing solar panels. And workers building wind turbines, and car companies manufacturing fuel-efficient cars. Investors will put some money into a new energy technology, and a small business will open to start selling it. That's how we can grow this economy, enhance our security, and protect our planet at the same time. Now, the fourth pillar of our new foundation is a 21st century healthcare system where families, businesses and government budgets aren't dragged down by skyrocketing insurance premiums. 1. And 500,000 Americans could lose their homes this year just because of a medical crisis. Major American corporations are struggling to compete with their foreign counterparts. Small businesses are closing their doors. We can't allow the cost of healthcare to continue strangling our economy. And that's why our Recovery Act will invest in electronic health records with strict privacy standards that can save money and lives and reduce medical error. That's why we've made the largest investment ever in preventive care. Because that's one of the best ways to keep costs under control. And included in the budgets that just passed Congress is an historic commitment. To reform that will finally make quality health care affordable for every American. So I'm looking forward in the next few months to working with both parties in Congress to make this reform a reality. We can get this done, and we have to get it done. Now, fixing our healthcare system will require resources. It's not going to be free. But in my budget we've made a commitment to fully pay for reform without increasing the deficit. And we've identified specific savings that will make the healthcare system more efficient and reduce costs for us all. In fact, we've undertaken an unprecedented effort to find this kind of savings in every corner of the budget. Because the final pillar in building our new foundation is restoring fiscal discipline once this economy recovers. Already we've identified $2 trillion in deficit reductions over the next decade. We need to do more, but we've already done that. We've announced procurement reform that will greatly reduce no-bid contracts and save the government $40 billion. We need to do more, but that's an important start. Secretary Gates recently announced a courageous set of reforms that go right at the hundreds of billions. Of dollars in waste and cost overruns that have bloated our defense budget without making America safer. We need to do more, but that proposal by Secretary Gates is right on target. We will end education programs that don't work. We will root out waste and fraud and abuse in our Medicare program. Altogether, this budget will reduce discretionary spending for domestic programs. As a share of the economy by more than 10% over the next decade to the lowest level we've seen since we began keeping records nearly half a century ago. And as we continue to go through the federal budget line by line, we will be announcing additional savings, secured by eliminating and consolidating. Programs that we don't need so we can make room for the things that we do need. That's what we're doing now. Of course, I realize that for some, this isn't enough. I know there's a criticism out there that my administration has been spending with reckless abandon. Pushing a liberal social agenda while mortgaging our children's future. You've heard the argument. Well, let me make 3 points. First, as I said earlier, the worst thing that we could do in a recession this severe is to try to cut government. Spending at the same time as families and businesses around the world are cutting back on their spending. So as serious as our deficit and debt problems are, and they are very serious, major efforts to deal with them have to focus on the medium and long-term budget picture. Not on the short term. And that's exactly what we've done. Second, in tackling the deficit issue, we simply cannot sacrifice the long term. Investments that we so desperately need to generate long-term prosperity. That's the argument that some critics have made. Well, you're proposing healthcare reform, you shouldn't be doing that. You're proposing education investments, you shouldn't be doing that, that adds to the deficit. Look, just as a cash-strapped family may cut back on all kinds of luxuries. But will still insist on spending money to get their children through college, will refuse to have their kids drop out of college and go to work in some fast food place. Even though that might bring in some income in the short term. Because they're thinking about the long term, so we as a country have to make current choices with an eye for the future. If we don't invest now in renewable energy, if we don't invest now in a skilled workforce, if we don't invest now in a more affordable healthcare system, this economy simply won't grow at the pace it needs to in 2 or 5 or 10 years down the road. If we don't lay this new foundation now, it won't be long before we're right back where we are today. And I can assure you that chronically slow growth will not. Help our long-term budget situation. That's the second point. Third point, the problem with our deficit and debt is not new. It has been building dramatically over the past 8 years, largely because big tax cuts combined with increased spending on 2 wars and the increased costs of government health care programs have pushed it ever upwards. This structural gap in our budget, between the amount of money that's coming in and the amount of money that's going out, will only get worse as the baby boomers age, and will in fact lead us down an unsustainable path. But let's not kid ourselves and suggest that we can solve this problem by trimming. a few earmarks or cutting the budget for the National Endowment for the Arts. That's just not true. Along with defense and interest on the national debt. The biggest cost drivers in our budget are entitlement programs like Medicare, Medicaid. And Social Security, all of which get more and more expensive every year. So if we want to get serious about fiscal discipline, and I do, then we're going to not only have to trim waste out of our discretionary budget, which we've already begun, we will also have to get serious about entitlement reform. Now, nothing will be more important to this goal than passing healthcare reform. That brings down costs across the system, including in Medicare and Medicaid. So make no mistake, healthcare reform is entitlement reform. That's not just my opinion, that was the conclusion of a wide range of participants. At the Fiscal Responsibility Summit that we held at the White House in February. And that's one of the reasons why I firmly believe we need to get healthcare reform done this year. Once we tackle rising healthcare costs, we must also work to put Social Security on firmer footing. It's time for both parties to come together and find a way to keep the promise of a sound retirement for future generations. And we should restore a sense of fairness and balance to our tax code, including by shutting down corporate loopholes and ensuring that everyone pays what they owe.